Chapter 1. Underworld. Let's get a few things straight. All demons have magical abilities. Except one, and we'll get to that. Also, we don't look like those ridiculous caricatures you humans paint us as. Even in hell, which most demons, not me, prefer to call the Underworld. Or walking the Overworld. Red skin and horns? Silly artifacts of ancient mortal political plays. Everything you've heard is an ugly stereotype, and more than a little offensive, if I'm being honest. Before I get too far, let's address the Minotaur in the room that is everyone being able to cast spells except for me. Being the only demon in the history of our race who can't wield magic is not something to brag about. How did it happen? No one knows. Mother and father, yes, us demons are victims of procreation too, have been shamed and criticized by the community from the beginning. So they stopped talking about it well before I turned 3,000 years old. I mean, who wouldn't? Never in the million-year history of our kind was there a demon like me. I guess that makes me special. Though you wouldn't know it by talking to father. But he's an ass. He was, from my earliest memory, and I don't see him changing soon. I'm the shame of the family. The segregate. Different from everyone in the underworld. Lucifer's reject. You're pathetic, Zeke. That's me, pathetic. The oddball. Nearly friendless and constantly getting my ass kicked by my closest friend. I dodged the giant boa's strike, tucking and rolling behind a log, before leaping on the fallen trunk and racing its length, knowing the snake would not be able to climb on it. Having put distance between me and Bilbo's hellacious beast, I pushed my hair out of my eyes to look for an escape route. There were none. Yeah, I'm well aware, I reminded Bilbo ravenous. And you've got a stupid name, what of it? The blood on my lips, the result of tripping over Bilbo's conjured snakes and falling face first to the ground, left the taste of iron on my tongue. I was swallowing blood. My stomach was not going to be happy with me later, and I wasn't happy with my friend using his go-to spell, though I was more upset at myself for not anticipating him using it. He always did. Sometimes, I wanted to punch him hard enough to knock his stupid buzz-cut hair off his even stupider head. Bilbo could cast a number of spells, but most of them were half attempts to learn something new. Snakes were his thing. How did I not see it coming? After he tripped me with those slithering nightmares, he was kind enough to let me get to my feet before sending them after me. A simple task for him. I ran for the nearest obstacle, a large, round evergreen shrub, thinking it would impinge the boa's ability to crush me. It circumvented the bush by cutting through the middle of it, and was at my feet before I rounded the stupid thing. I jumped for the branch above my head, thanking Lucifer that he'd put it within my reach. Fate and all that, you know. How else could someone under 5'7" reach the blessed thing? And there I hung, giving my temporary enemy the cockiest smile I could form. That's cheating. Bilbo crossed his arms, pulling his loose shirt tight against his flabby chest. And you promised to try new spells and stop using those dumb things. I jerked my head at the coiled boas beneath me. But I win when I use them. Oh wow, I grunted as I pulled myself up to sit on the branch. You beat the only magicless demon in hell. Good job, buddy. You must be so proud of yourself. Let's agree to fight without magic and see how it ends. Fat chance, Bilbo smirked. I was drenched in sweat and he was barely breathing heavy. And he was the one who was desperately out of shape. Bilbo threw his head back, releasing a guttural laugh from the deepest part of his extended belly. Thankfully, he spared me the sight of it bouncing up and down by placing both of his hands over top of it, his long, black-nailed fingers crisscrossing. I could crush you, he said in between chortling like a sow stuffed at a trough full of garbage. I flicked my hand at him, unimpressed. You and everyone else on the fifth circle. Heavens, everyone in any circle of the underworld. Big deal. The underworld has 9 circles. The fifth circle was my home, a boring, crowded realm about as stimulating as having that talk with your parents. It isn't at all like what your mortal Dante says. It can be nice in places. We have spots of open land, gardens, and prairies that are designated as public spaces. My parents live near a garden, which makes it nice at times like this when Bilbo wants to spar to improve his casting. Eve's Sanctuary. Look, don't get mad at me. Someone named these places long before I got thrown into the Underworld like a pariah. Was today's location of my ass-kicking. A small but lush garden. It had become a regular spot to hang out and spar. Few demons used it, allowing me to lose to Bilbo without completely being humiliated in the face of witnesses. I've had enough humiliation, so there was no reason to pile more on. Reaching down, I brushed the clumps of wet soil from my pants. Those were temporary. The grass stains were not. The small clumps fell and hit one of the boas on its stupid small head. It looked up at me with a vengeful glare. Bilbo chuckled. Your mother's going to kill you. You know what would be cool? I asked, now adjusting to brush off the seat of my pants. If you stopped abusing our friendship and the fact I'm the segregate. He cocked his head. What? One corner of his lip pulled up, making his chubby cheek look like it was rolling into his eye, made funnier because his thick eyebrows scrunched down, cutting his face in half. Why do you call yourself that? It's a bullshit name, but it's one you can reject, you know. Don't know. Bilbo shook his head. I think you do. Maybe I'm into masochism. Bilbo snapped his fingers, cutting off his spell. The two terrorist snakes puffed out of existence. I watched the grass for a moment longer. I won't conjure them again, I promise. He was telling the truth, suddenly turning serious. Jumping from the tree and landing softly, I approached him. Good. Because I would have stepped on that one's head. I don't think he likes me. They're spells, Zeke. Nothing more. I'm pretty sure they don't have feelings. I shook my head. You don't know that for sure. Watch how he looks at me sometimes. I don't trust that little bastard. Bilbo slapped me on the back, still serious. Stop avoiding the question. I'm not. I was the segregate. Lucifer's council, oh, we'll get to them, trust me, made an official declaration when it became clear that I lacked abilities in my first year of school. During the basic abilities curriculum, all the other imps got to explore their magical gifts, and when my teacher discovered I could not even boil water, she isolated me until the school figured out what to do, which was to assign special homework, which was nothing more than busy work to keep me out of the way. Plenty of parent-teacher conferences and medical appointments followed, and after it was confirmed that I could not cast, the officials got involved. They confirmed the findings, made an announcement that ostracized my family, and created the societal reject that was me. At least I still had access to social programs like medical care and the such, but I lost the ability to go to a university after school, making finding a reliable job nearly impossible. After the initial media frenzy, life returned to normal for everyone, except me. Even my parents' friends and coworkers accepted them back into their circles after a time. Few demons my age gave me that same allowance, and only Bilbo publicly allied himself with me, though he also accused me of holding on to my resentment, telling me for the past few hundred years that I needed to let it go, or it would make me angry and bitter. I resented him for telling me that. Bilbo gripped my shoulder firmly. Screw those morons, who cares what they think? I do, I said, pulling away, pretending I had to adjust my pants so he would not see the pain in my eyes. You shouldn't. I jabbed a finger at him, our signal from the time we were only a few hundred years old that one of us was just about done with the other. You don't get to be the judge of that. I turned to walk out of the garden, Bilbo's heavy footsteps thumping on the soft grass sounding behind me. Come on, I didn't mean anything by it. We walked in silence. In a few hundred yards, we'd be back amongst our kind. Hundreds of us milling around, buzzing with the noise and annoyance of demons with too much time on their hands to realize how mundane our existence is. Though he always won our sparring matches, I appreciated my time with Bilba in the garden. Time away from the buzz of Lucifer's spawn, because loneliness sucks, in case you didn't know. This session, however, held a darker element to it because it made me think about something I'd rather forget. A secret I had not shared with my friend. Before stepping through the gateway that shielded this silent realm from the natural noise of the Underworld's populace, I turned to Bilba, giving him the warmest smile I could manage. I know, and I know I can get sensitive about the crappy life Lucifer dealt me. I'm just dealing with stuff and the reminder didn't help, that's all. What stuff? I turned away again. The gateway drew closer, the low hum of its energy cutting through the silence of Eve's sanctuary. Pressure of stress and anxiety pushed down on my shoulders. I didn't have time to explain. I didn't want to explain. Regretting I opened my dumb mouth in the first place, knowing Bilba would not let it go, I said, I found something out today. Want to give me more? My shoulders slumped. Bilba had a knack for making me feel a few things beyond pain, and exasperation was one of them. That's what friends were for, right? Something I'm not ready to deal with. He pulled up, waiting for me to turn around. The hum of the gateway grew louder, hiding the buzz of demon activity on the other side. Tell me. He wouldn't budge if I didn't. So I did.